What are you drinking there, man? Is that some kind of magic potion to make you see better at night, or is that just
This
the glasses that
is
you've got on?
yeah, no, yeah, you've got this is your fault. This is your fault. So, um, green, uh, what is it? My protein greens,
Oh, yeah, super greens. Like, yeah,
super
yeah,
greens.
yeah,
Yeah. I think I ordered this time. I think I ordered the one that wasn't flavored. So I've had to put a little bit of orange in it just because it's just earthy.
yeah. They border on that. I remember the first time I ever tried something like that. It was like I don't even think it was a mixture of like greens. It was it was just spirulina, and I was just like, right, I'm just gonna put this in a glass of water, and I'm just gonna stir it up, and it's going down my throat, and it was like, ooh,
Yeah.
straight away. I was just like, oh my god, that's so weird. I've never tasted anything like that. But then Super Greens came out, and I was just like, I don't know. Like I say, like you were saying, then you can order it flavored and unflavored, and definitely ordering it with a hint of like orange or whatever is good. But did you put orange cordial in it or orange juice?
Just a splash of orange juice,
Right. Okay.
and it's lovely. Yeah, man. I've heard Tim Ferriss talk about that earthy taste. You know, when something tastes earthy,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're eating soil.
Yeah.
He was saying that it's because we're not used to eating like normal food. We're used to eating flavored food that we can no longer palate it. But that earthy taste is actually usually, if it tastes like that, it's usually really good for you. Unless it is actually just soil. But like what I'm saying is like your palate has changed now to be like what is actually good for you. It doesn't taste particularly good. Like it's not natural anymore. It's weird, that, isn't it?
Yeah. That makes sense, though, doesn't it? They're like, I mean, it's true. Is that? I mean, you can make yourself. I personally think you can make yourself like things even if you don't like something, but there's something about natural food. Like, the other day I was walking and there's wild garlic everywhere. There was wild garlic everywhere. I don't know if it's slowly started to die off now, but it blooms at a certain part. I think it's still out, but you just grab one of it, a bit of its leaf, just mix it up, and like scrunch it up, and then and just put it in your mouth and eat it. And you can taste that it's garlic, it's wild garlic, but it's so bitter. But I can imagine if our taste buds weren't tainted by the food that we have on hand. Even whole grain, even whole foods. You know, I mean, we're spoiled by the range of whole foods that we've got. You know, in a day you can have an absolute like a plethora of whole foods that with so many different tastes. But if in the highlight of your day was the fact that you got to eat some blueberries and the rest of it was freaking just earthy horribleness. Imagine how good them blueberries will taste. But if you put
Yeah.
like, it's weird
Comparison.
in comparison. Yeah. But that's weird. Is that it's so true? How messed up have we
Yeah.
got with our
Like just the thought of just eating spinach just with nothing. Just like you'd get bored of it well fast, wouldn't you? Like just if you were just to eat it with no flavoring or not cooked or anything like that, just
yeah
just plain spinach. But yet I'll make a salad and stick loads of dressing on it, and it's like, yeah. Now
yeah
it's because I like the taste of the dressing, not the greenness. But he was saying it. What Tim Ferriss was saying is there's a tea, some sort of tea that he endorses. He endorses loads of things, doesn't he? And he was saying,
yeah. He's an avid tea drinker, isn't he?
yeah, he was saying that this tea, it takes you like 30 days to get used to. He said you won't like it for the first 30 days, so we can't do a 30-day money back guarantee because it just doesn't taste nice. But he said once you get used to it, you start wanting that taste. You start wanting that bit of an earthy taste. And he was like, that is actually what the goodness in the tea that you can taste is very earthy, and it's I wouldn't necessarily call it bitter. It's not. I wouldn't really know how to describe it as a flavor, but it's earthy is the best way you could describe it. Like if you were to eat mushrooms raw, that
Yeah,
sort of like texture, yeah, which is
yeah,
it's mad, isn't it?
yeah. But I think as well, I think again anyone can do it. Like like I said, years and years ago, when I was just like, I think it was about 6, 7 years ago, when I was the only coffee I would drink would be coffee with milk, and or like cappuccinos and lattes and things like that. And then I was putting weight on when I didn't really realize where it was coming from. And if you're having 2 or 3 cappuccinos a day, you're drinking
800
calories
calories.
there. Yeah, you're drinking
Yeah.
calories. You don't know where they're coming from. So I had to kind of be like, right, well, I like the taste of coffee, so I've got to try and find a way to enjoy just it on its own, black coffee just on its own. And it took a few times, but after a certain period of time, it's like the stronger the better. I think that's the best thing. And that would some coffee's quite bitter, I would
Right.
say.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
quite earthy, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially, you get a really strong one, or it's amazing what you can do with the palate, though, in it. Like how intricate your palate actually is. When you can taste certain things, and you think people are quite pedantic until you taste. You'll drink. Sounds so. There's going to be people listening to this now that are like, oh my god, but like you'll drink Nescafe Gold Blend, which is a coffee, granulated coffee, freeze dried granulated coffee in the UK. Uh, and that's what just a lot of people drink. But then when you're like, oh no, I'm going to actually decide to get my own beans, and I'm going to grind my own beans in the morning, and you go and go from there and make my own coffee. The taste difference is just unbelievable. And that's where, if you like have an espresso with ground coffee beans and stuff like that, you taste the difference and how bitter it can actually be.
Yeah, you connoisseur, you coffee connoisseur, percolator, getting your percolator out in the morning, like.
It's you know what, it used to be I don't know what your choice is or whatever, or what anybody else's choice who's listening to this, but I've been through quite a few, and AeroPress for me is I had one at the start. I think I've had three. I'm on my third. So like I had one years ago when I heard about it, and then I had one years ago when I first heard about it, lost it or misplaced it or whatever. The second one, it was like, I had it for a bit, and I think I've still got the remnants of it in my kitchen, but I'm missing certain parts of it. And then just when lockdown came in, I was like, right, there's no coffee shops open. I know I want my daily coffee. So it's got, and I know that AeroPress is really good, so I had to buy another one. I've since found out as well that they come with like a little filter, like it comes in like 3 parts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you can get paper filters, but apparently the metal filters are better because the paper filters have some kind of chemical in, and it's always like that, isn't it? There's always something with paper or something like that. They'll put a chemical in it to make it something else, and they're like, oh, I wouldn't do
Oh,
that because of this.
oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, to what detriment is it worth ordering a metal one? I mean, how bad am I going to die? Is there a chance that I would get cancer from whatever they put in that? Because I'm sure they wouldn't.
Just chewing on copy paper. You're like, it's fine, it's fine. Like, what's supposed to? Oh, it's supposed to go in. It's supposed to go in the device. Oh, yeah. Uh, just filtering it through.
Yeah, pouring coffee beans, pouring ground coffee in your mouth.
Oh, that reminds me of what you shared, man, with them two Americans with that tea making. Oh my
Oh,
God.
I know.
How
Yeah.
wrong can you go making a brew? How wrong can you go making a brew?
I know,
Like,
and it's something that triggers you, doesn't it? If people haven't listened to it, like you should go and watch it out. It's gone viral over the past few days, but it's it's like from as a UK, as somebody in the UK drinks tea, that is just not the correct way to make a cup of tea. And I remember as a kid, I got taught how to make tea. Over a period of time, my mum and dad were like, I'd be asking them what they've got and stuff, or what they're drinking. And then I try it every now and again. Didn't really like it. And then I try coffee, and they'd always put like a ton of sugar in their coffee. So I was like, oh, it's quite good. It's weird. But then like as I've gotten older, so I've known how to make tea since I was a kid. And as you've gotten older, you perfect it slowly over a period of time, leaving the tea bag in long enough, only putting a dash of milk in because you want it to be strong. I'm a firm believer in no sugar in tea. Okay, and it needs to be quite strong. You can't overwhelm it with milk. Some teas you can't drink, like green tea you can't drink with milk. And if you were going to
No,
drink
no.
Earl Grey, it would only be a slight bit.
You
And it's,
used to drink Earl Grey all the time. Or
yeah,
did you? All the time. I was just like, no,
yeah.
no. Flavored tea,
I think it's
no.
bergamot in Earl Grey. There's something about that. It's like, it's really calming.
What did you just say? You just went German all of a sudden then.
It's got
Yeah, that's
I think it's got bergamot in it. I think that's what the actual smell that you smell
what
or
is
taste.
bergamot?
It's
I've
like
never
a spice,
bergamot.
isn't it?
It's what?
It's a
Bergamot.
spice. Bergamot. Yeah.
Bergamot.
Look it up when you got some free time. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
after this, I'll be like, oh, yeah, bergamot. Yes.
Bergamot. But I
Yeah.
feel like that for me is the correct way. You know, like you can't put sugar in tea because it becomes just a sugary version of tea, and it becomes like a completely different tea and drink entirely. If you're wanting to drink actual tea, I just don't believe in sugar in it. I don't know myself. That's just each to their own. Everybody's so like particular with everything in their life, and especially drinking hot drinks. You know, like people drink coffee in so many different forms and ways. There's different ways of drinking black coffee. You know, like
I put a post up about gabapentin helping alcoholics withdraw, like the withdrawal from alcohol is benefit if you start taking gabapentin. And Matt Berry put it up. Is there anything like this for sugar to withdraw from sugar, or am I just being a wimp? I was just like, it's so true that though, isn't it? Like once you've had sugar in your tea or you're having sweet, you know, like trying to withdraw from like processed sugar, it's just like worse than crack. It's,
yeah,
you know, like once you've had sugar in your brews and then you go and try and drink a Sonoma, you're just like, what is that? What is that?
it's
That's
true.
not right. Yeah, man. Like,
Yeah, it's true. It's
but you,
weird though, isn't it? What's that about though? Because you know, like we've all been there. We've all had situations where we're like, "This isn't good. I shouldn't do this. This isn't right." And you try and try to shake it off you, whether it's a habit. You know, well, it's a habit that we're talking about in essence. But like when you're trying to shake it off and you just can't shake it off, but then there'll be a day that comes round, one day that just like it switches in your mind, and you're just like, oh, okay, this is the day, and you let go of it, and it's gone until for some reason it works its way back in. You know, I stopped eating chocolate for, I think it was like 2 months or something like that, and just over this lockdown, I think we spoke because we speak on a regular basis to me and Joe. Like over this lockdown, I've not gone back to how I used to eat chocolate, but it works its way in now a little bit more than often. I think that's just because had a really strong resolve at the start of lockdown, but you know, I've installed some habits. You know, I did a cold plunge today. My
man, I'm missing
you know,
them. I'm
and
missing them. I need to
I
order
know,
them.
and
Yeah.
I was like, right, okay, but then gradually as it's come towards the end, and I think this is what it is. Okay, I think I know that what's around the corner is regular training, and people are going to be ready to move around and get the heart rate up on a regular basis, and we're going to be able to train. So I think in my head, it's weird how humans rationalize with stuff. In my head, I'm kind of thinking to myself, well, I'm going to be burning tons of calories soon. So it's okay if today I eat an extra 400 calories in like sweets and biscuits and maybe the odd slice of toast. It'll be all right. It's okay. It's all right. It doesn't matter, you know. But I think it's weird though because I
In,
think the
in
essence
3
of
months, I'm going to go on a run. It's fine. It's
yes,
fine.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think the essence to get to to try and get to a point where you want to get to with your body composition or health or whatever. I think consistency is key, but sometimes you realize that consistency is hard when you want to enjoy life, isn't it?
I can't. Mate, with eat, especially food, especially good food, because obviously, like what we were talking about before, is like the food that is good for you doesn't necessarily always taste the best. And to have a strict regime where you're eating clean single ingredient food consistently is probably one of the hardest things to do in the Western country, isn't it? It's probably one of the hardest things to do because you only have to go to the supermarket and everything that's eye level is just like crisps, biscuits, like it's like almost like it's programmed into you. And then you only have to have a lapse, like you're saying, just a little lapse of like a day or so, and you're like, oh, I'll just eat some chocolate. Oh yeah, that'd be fine. It's so easy to do, and everybody does it. It's like, like I don't know one person. Like if I was to say anybody that has a clean diet, I would say you, and obviously my partner. And I know both of you indulge in things, So
Yeah.
it's just like, who actually doesn't? I don't think they exist. I don't think that person exists. But what the most nutritional people try and say is that your majority is good, and
Yeah.
then you have the occasional. But what happens with me is I think my majority is good, and then I just take note of exactly what I'm eating, and I'm like, oh fuck, no, my majority is not good. I'm eating a lot of shit during a 7-day period. I'm eating so much shit. Like I've got to clean this up, and then I'll clean it up for like a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden I'll forget about it, and life will take over. And yeah, but man, like your goals, the more clear you are on what your actual goals are, the more focused you are on keeping that goal relevant and recirculating it in your head, the cleaner you'll eat. So just even having this conversation now, it's already put that more into the front of my mind, and like, right, no, actually, I do need to look at my sugar intake. I do need to look at what I'm drinking, what's going into my coffees, and like, is there a better version of what I could be having? Because if you don't talk about it with people and not honest, if you're not honest with yourself, then you just like carry on going what you've been doing for years, and you won't change it, And
Yeah, accountability is the biggest thing. I have literally said that to you loads, and we've spoke about it. It just is, isn't it? And it's not accountability to your partner, or it's not accountability to my children or anyone else. It's accountability to yourself, and when you're doing the wrong thing that you want to do, or the right thing, because some people don't care, and that's fine. Some people don't care, and they will do what they want. And some people do care, but the hardest thing is to stay on that road of, right, okay, because I think that the people that you see that are like the tough thing about this, the people that are ripped and all this kind of stuff, then the height of where you're like, wow, they're super healthy. I think what I find with a lot of interviews, or listen to what people are talking about, they're not particularly happy, and I think like we've all got to have a certain level of body fat percentage on us to stay at a certain like happiness level, to be scientific. It's exactly what I was like you've got to be to a certain point, there is a fine line to cross with that. I just think everybody has that going on, no matter what. Everybody struggles to a certain degree with living in this day and age, where you walk, like you said, man, you walk into a shop, and you're confronted by the things that you don't want, you shouldn't eat, you know what I mean? But um the hardest thing with that is, as well, is, I mean, micronutrient value wise, you shouldn't eat it. But if, obviously, the bottom line of it is it's just calories, it's just packaged calories. So if you're overeating your calories, then obviously you're going to get fat, and that's where a lot of the detrimental part of health comes from. So if you go in and do you know what, today I'm going to have that, and it's not on a macronutrient level, it's not particularly healthy. um but the rest of your diet it is literally just calories that you've got to think about, and that will determine whether the health wise, if you're going to have to put weight on and gain more body fat to a point where you become obese. You know what I mean? That's the fine line where you're crossing there. So I don't know. I think if you balance your micronutrients out through the rest of the day, you can eat loads of chocolate. It's fine.
yeah, that's not like, no. I think what happens, man, I think more to the point of what happens is you get over hungry and then you eat shit. So like your sensitivity in your brain especially is respondent to certain moods. So for instance, now, and I said I'd mention this, is that I've got a carrying a little bit of an injury, so I'm a bit sore and a bit in pain, or you're tired, or
Yeah.
you've not planned it right. And this is what you were talking about with intermittent fasting. is that what I found? Because when you said I'm doing 16 hours, I'm going to do 16 hours, and I was like, right, okay, let me just have a little gauge of this. I'll try for 13s and 14s to see if I can get my calorie intake within the time frame of doing it that way. And I was finding that I was having to eat a certain amount of calories in a smaller window. But the 13-hour for me was, that's fine. That was absolutely, it wasn't an issue. I just got up, and instead of eating my breakfast straight away, I'd wait about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours some days, drink some water. And then when my breakfast actually came, I was really ready for it. And I could amount the amount of calories in there. But if you're tired or in pain or whatever, your brain, your frontal cortex, the clarity part of your brain, which says, oh, I shouldn't do this. When you're tired, especially when you're tired, you're just like, I feel hungry, I need to eat. And it's not really hunger, it's more tiredness, and it's more your limbic system taking over your frontal cortex. So you're going more emotive. And when you eat emotional, that's why they'd say the obvious one is don't shop hungry, because you just end up buying loads of shit that looks like it tastes good, and you end up spending more money. So it's all about these patterns. And I think you were finding that with your 16-hour window being, that's a long period not to eat. So what happens when I've not eaten for that amount of time? What happens to my diet now I've changed my window? And them things, especially obviously if you can manage to not have shit food in your house, so you've only got your go-to food is good.
That's a big one.
That's a massive one. So if you are hungry, then you're only going to go to, what I found is, I've got great food in my house. Nothing's particularly unhealthy. There is some stuff that you could class as unhealthy if you eat too much of it. But I'd always go for the fast, instant GI, like peanut butter. Right, I'll just get a scoop of peanut butter on a spoon and eat it like that because I'm tired. And I'm not thinking, right, and it's a massive part of, I think what goes wrong with people's diets is the fact that they're not aware of their emotive side of food, how it affects your emotions and how it affects your clarity. Like everybody's heard of being hangry. I've left it too long to eat and now I'm angry. So now I'll eat anything. Just give me anything. It's like, if you let that happen too often, then your diet goes to shit. But if you plan and you're precise with it, it can be a lot more it is regimental, but you will end up being healthier for that regiment. But
that's why people meal prep, and it's really hard to do. Well, it's not really hard to do. Of all the things that you could gauge that are really hard to do, meal prepping at the end of every week is not hard to do, but that's where people see the most results, because then you set your body into a routine of consuming a certain amount of calories a day, with your breakfast, dinner, and lunch, and then you have your predetermined snacks in between, because snacks are important to keep you satiated and keep you going.
What happened with your you were ordering your meals at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, it just got to a point where I started. It's just like anything with a lot of time. I'm ordering for a certain period of time, and then after a while, you're like, I'm spending quite a lot of money, because it didn't seem too bad at the start, but then when you're like, you order them, and then after like 4 days or something, you realize you're like 50, 60 quid down. You've eaten all loads of clean food and everything, but then you're like, I think around about that time we'd got Aldi and everything, and I was just like, right, I can just go and get this stuff. Should I start doing that? And I was doing that to a certain degree, but because I've not been working for months now, with the working days compared to the days that I've been having, they're completely different. But when I am at work, it's tough. I think with the fasting that I've been doing, because I've been doing 16, like I was doing 16-hour fasts, but just recently I've been doing 13, 14, or 15. I haven't hit 16 for like about a week and a half yet. And I think that's just, I was listening to Michaela Peterson. She got a podcast and she had a guy on talking about fasting. And because she's just done a 6-day fast or something like that. I can't remember, 7-day fast or something crazy. Just drinking like fizzy water and electrolytes, salt. And she's like, the benefits from that, she says, are unbelievable. But the guy that was on was basically saying that, like, you can intermittent fast, but it doesn't have to be. Don't feel the need to be implementing a 16-hour fast every single day, And it's like, right, okay, because the health benefits from them windows that you're shucking in, because like even going to Ben Greenfield, he talks about a 13 to 16 hour window, where you don't eat. So between 13 hours to 16 hours. And he said that, like, listened to his book Boundless when I was walking up Pendle the other week. And that was a large part, that chapter I was listening to on that walk. And he was talking about that. That's a big window that you can hit. Obviously, the major health, fat burning, ketosis benefits come from heavier, longer fasts. You know what I mean? Maybe once a week, engaging in a 24 to 36 hour fast and stuff like that. But I think I do want to play with that a little bit more, and I will probably play with that because it is intriguing. But I mean, I say all these things, and I know you and people know me listen to this. It's not always the case with me. I'm doing these things just to see what's going on. I do enjoy normal life as well. Like I think you've got to play with certain parts and just to see what works with you and what doesn't.
Yeah, it changes, and I think the other idea is that your body changes as you age as well. But I think what you're saying is correct. Is you've got to find what works for you. And I knew as soon as you started doing them 16-hour fasts, I was like, I know that's too long for me because I've got to eat a lot of calories during the day, and if I'm
Yeah.
eating that close together, I feel bloated. And I was even saying that to you. I was like, am I just making excuses for myself here? I'm just making excuses for myself here. But I do think, like, if it's going to become habitual, that it shouldn't be difficult. It shouldn't be an effort every day, And I know, like, we're saying like 30 days to 60 days to change your habits, and then it doesn't become an effort. But I think with my work-life balance and with everything else that's going on in the busy world that I live in, if I'm only leaving such a short window to eat, for me personally, I'm probably going to end up not eating enough, and that will then affect my mood,
Yeah.
and affect everything else, and then I'll end up crashing out of it. And I think that's the whole idea of these yo-yo diets, is that they work while people are on them. They're like, oh, I'm doing a 0-carb diet. And it's like, oh, are you? Oh, right. Yeah, you'll lose weight doing that.
Yeah.
But you won't be consistent at it. It won't last. It won't last because how can it? All you're going to do is end up crashing out of it and end up like, overeating and then being back to where you were. And I think there's some quite good research on, like, the more times you yo-yo diet, the more your system becomes unhealthy because your insulin resistance goes up, and you eventually find it harder to lose that weight because your body doesn't know not to hold on to the fat. And it's that sort of counter sort of initiative that is like, really, you need to be eating enough calories so your body knows that it doesn't need to store as fat for the it doesn't need to store it as fat because it knows that you're going to get the sufficient amount of calories, so it doesn't
Yes.
need to save it.
You're
And I
tricking
think,
your body, aren't you? You're tricking your body, yeah.
And especially, like, a lot of people, like, the obvious ones are like, you're eating but you're actually thirsty. Do you know what I mean? You're not drinking enough, and that's causing you to feel less satiated. And the one that I was listening to, the nutrition one, because I know you just started doing a nutrition course and I saved it for you, is your body doesn't have a satiated meter. It doesn't have a meter to say, oh, you've had enough food. What it has is a barrier reflex, which is a stretch reflex. So it feels the stretch, and that's what makes you feel full.
Yeah.
So if you eat more volume, because obviously calories can come in different sorts of volume, but if you can find something that's more volume, you're going to then feel more full with a different amount of calories. And I think that's what people really need to understand is that, it's your volume that you eat makes you feel full.
It comes from
Uh,
whole foods as well, you know.
and that usually comes from whole foods, yeah. And the fact that the other one that gets me, which really works for me, and I know it's not the healthiest way to do it because I've looked into it, but protein intake. If I up my protein intake and have like a protein smoothie as well as my breakfast, I feel fuller for longer.
Yeah, it's
I
more
just do.
satiating. It is, yeah.
It is more satiating, and then I find that because there is some diets which are protein heavy diets which you will be able to sustain because they do make you feel satiated. And I know there's this fine thing with protein at the moment. It's like, how is too much protein bad for you? You're having to, what's your body having to do with that protein to break it down? And it's a whole different concept. But I do feel that works for me if I'm not, I know I'm not going to eat a mass amount, quick protein shake, and I'm full. I feel
Yeah,
full, and then
yeah,
I'm
and
not.
it's definitely a good thing. I do think that's definitely a good point, man. It's weird because I remember what Darren used to talk to me about it years ago when I first started walking with him, and he's done a health and nutrition course, and he was talking about like how he would go on at me about my breakfast about because we would go out on a walk. He'd be like, "What?" He'd be like, "What have you had?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I guzzled down some oats and stuff." And he's like, "Oh, all right, no worries." I was like, "What did you have?" And he just said, "I had barely anything." You know what I mean? Barely anything, but it was just protein, nothing else but just protein. You know, and I was just like, "Oh, right, okay." And I couldn't believe this guy was like hiking with me for like 6 hours or 5 hours, and he'd only had that. And then we'd get to the top of somewhere, and he'd have a bit of 70% dark chocolate, a black coffee, and then we'd carry on going again. And in the back of my head, I was just like, eh. But now, if you really test that and you think about it, it works. You know, like if you wake up and have a protein-rich breakfast, you know, you'll find just anyone who's out here, they're all on your own journey. And I am not an athlete in any way. I'm an exerciser, if that, and I'm just trying to get by myself. But just try that, challenge yourself. Just have a protein breakfast and see how long it takes before you literally are like, oh, I'm hungry again. You know, because we've all got that hunger pang where you're like, oh, I could fair eat now, and you can push it. You can push it. I think that's the idea with fasting. You know, you're like, oh, I could eat now, but I don't need to eat. You know, you don't need to eat. Realistically, we all don't need to eat for quite some time. You know, if you really want to be pedantic about it.
Yeah.
But you know, with that, it's try different breakfasts and see how you work off them. And that's if you're not fasting. You know what I mean? What I was gonna say, we are flitting around here, and we'll get onto some other points soon. But what I was gonna say was, it's the idea of like your breakfast for me. Like I do enjoy having breakfasts, and I have started because I do enjoy having breakfast. If I'm going to fast now, it'll be till about 10, but if I want to do 16, it'll be to 12. So the massive benefit for me now is I've fully implemented a point where now I'm not going to eat anything now. Like I stopped eating. And my last bit of food was at 8 o'clock tonight. You know, done. I'm done. So an hour and 20 minutes ago, I literally ate the last bit of food, boom, and set my fasting timer going again. And that's been going on regularly now for the past quite a few weeks. And I don't think that will go. I think because that was a big challenge for a lot of people was, you know, I might finish this podcast with you and then chill out, start to edit it, go and grab some food, chill out, chocolate rice cake or something like that. I don't know, you know, and just relax. Well, you need to give you, that's where some people can go wrong. It doesn't mean, it's not like, oh, it's not bad, but it's where people can go wrong because they're getting them extra calories in that they don't need to get. But yeah, I think everybody's on their own path with stuff like that. And, you know, I think we'll all flit in and out. I said to you the other day, like, you know, you feel like you're taking your foot off the pedal a bit sometimes with your own health and stuff, but you're not realistically, you know, like there's small little windows and you're looking for little things to clamber back on. And like I said, I've got my sauna coming on Friday. It's being delivered on Friday. So I think, and that will be another kick for me because I know then that I've got a, you know, I've got this instrument in my house that is hugely beneficial health wise, and I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to do this, and I've got this, and I've got this, and now slowly people are wanting to train more, and I think we're going to be allowed to train. I think it's going to be really good, and I'm going to start to hopefully get to a place where I've wanted to get to.
Yeah, I was gonna. The sauna thing is definitely, the science is there. Absolutely no.
100%.
No. Yeah, it's sort of it's a definite in it. And I think even like all-cause mortality goes down if you use it more than 4 times a week.
Yeah,
So I'm
by,
slightly
by
jealous.
about 40% as well, something like
Yeah,
that,
and
which is a large number.
you can understand why, can't you? Because it's like vasodilation and it elevates your heart rate and gets rid of the toxins by sweating. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? It doesn't, like, you don't need to know that much of the science to understand how it can be beneficial. What 2 things there, what you mentioned about the intermittent fasting, one which I've thought of, and I'm not quite sure, because obviously, like, you and me sort of like discover science, and some of it can be bro science, and some of it is like, oh, what do you think of this, and
Yeah.
who have you heard this off, and what is this, you know? One thing I know, and this sort of resonated with me a little bit with the 16-hour window as well, is that your insulin response is better in the morning. So what I mean by that is you're actually better eating in the morning and not late on at night. So it just to chuck that curveball in there, Lee, if you were to move your eating back again, so you would say, like you said, 8 o'clock, say it was like 6 o'clock, but yet you ate earlier in the morning, I think that would, to me, make more sense for it to be better for your insulin response. There's probably not masses in it, to be fair, because intermittent fasting, no matter where it is, also has all the benefits. But I think, as we were talking about the black coffee thing and that, and it got me thinking about that. And I know your circadian, because your circadian rhythm to the eating, your circadian rhythm is more set for in the morning, probably up until about 12. So it probably doesn't really make a difference to you, but it is better to when you break your fast in the morning, your insulin response will be better.
Yeah.
So
Man.
that was one thing.
I suppose a little bit on that. Just remember where you are. I think a good thing as well there would be then to also probably stop eating at 6, and then go and then have your first meal at 7:30 or something like that, go 13 and a half hours or something. But just before that, go and get in the cold plunge outside as well, because that increases your insulin response. So then you've got
I
that.
can't do it in the morning.
You get out there, you go out there fasted, you get in your cold plunge for 5 minutes, get that shock, and boom, get back out, dry yourself, sit down, make your coffee, make your breakfast, and boom, your body should be all set to take any kind of, that's even if what you're deciding to eat in the morning is something that would spike your insulin to a certain degree, like there's certain foods that don't, but I mean 9 times out of 10 with me, if it's oats, it's going to have some kind of honey in it, or berries or something like that. But then also
everything GL4, basically anything you eat, you have an insulin response to. Yeah, anything, even if it's good, like even if it's low GI, it still will. Your body will be like, this food here, we need to deal with it whichever way. We need to store it or use it.
Cool.
But that just shows you the difference between me and you, because you know that, like, in the morning, I couldn't get in the cold plunge. When I had it set up, I was like, I can't do that in the morning. Are you mad? Like, that's not how my body works at all. And like, I'm like, I want to get in a warm shower. I want to wake up slowly. I want to, like, maybe do some gentle walk in the morning. I'm all slow to start off with. You're like, yeah, I'm having a black coffee and getting in the cold plunge. I'm like, right, you are a different kind of person. I could not face going out and getting in that cold plunge first thing in the morning. No way. I don't have it mentally.
It's funny, man. You know what's funny is watching the kids just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, honestly, because like you could see them just like, what's actually going on? You know what I mean? When I first started doing it and I told them and everything and what it's there for, you know, because my daughter's instant response is to like, oh, is it for me? Because everything's for either. Is it for me? Oh, can I get in? I'm like, no, 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 that's for daddy. I bought this for this, you know, it don't, you know, there's just going to be standing water in there every 2 days. It's going to be freezing cold. So like, just leave it for me. And then they're like, what? And then when they first go and do it, and they can see me like, trying to get ready. And then I go in, right, come on. I'm having a word with myself, and I go outside. They're like, where's he going? What's going on? And they walk to the window that's looking out to the backyard, and they're like, huh? And then they'll come out and they're like, what are you doing? And they'll walk over, and it's so funny. Sometimes it's that cold. It's got a little bit warmer just recently. I think you'll attest to that. But when it was like down by 45 degrees Fahrenheit, they'd come over and they'd be like, Daddy, and they stood right next to me, right in my face, and I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right, I'm just chilling, just leave Daddy alone, just leave Daddy alone. And after a bit, I'm like, look, listen, kids, can you just go inside? I just need to focus. Freezing cold.
They're just looking through the window and they just look at each other and like, do you think Dad's crazy? What? Yeah, I think he's crazy. Yeah, he's crazy.
Isla tried getting in once as well, and she's like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm like, are you going to do it? She's like, I'm going to do it. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So she went outside, and I was like, right, okay, I'll hoist you in, and then you tell me if you're all right and you can get out. She's like, right, okay. And I put her in, she stood up in it, and she's like, okay. And I goes, right, you need to sit down now. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it. Got straight back out again. Yeah, but I think people, that's still another road that's not even wandered yet. You know, getting it colder, getting it cold. Now I've got a thermometer in there. It's like, well, I know when I go outside and I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's that temperature. It's cold, but it's not as cold as it has been. You know, it's cold when you get in and you've been in there 5 minutes and you get out and your skin's red raw and you're like, whoa, that's cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you know, I'll set the shower running upstairs. So like in the morning, if I'm doing the morning, I'll go and set the shower running upstairs so it's piping hot, and I'll come downstairs, do my deep breathing, boom, get out there, straight in, and try and push it for as long as I can. You inspired me quite a lot of times to push a little bit longer. You know, like when you did have it, you were like 8 minutes, and I'm like, oh man, I was gonna do 5. Okay, right. And I get out there, and I'm like, 8 minutes and 1. Right, I've done that.
Yeah, you just Do you know what it is though, man? Well, I found it's a bit mindful because you're not gonna be on your phone while you're in there.
No.
And there's nothing going on when you're outside other than, and obviously during lockdown it was usually quite quiet.
Yeah.
So you just like you'd have the initial shock of getting in and be like, whoa, right, it's cold. But then you'd be like, wow, it's quite peaceful out here.
Yeah.
I quite like this, you know, like, and it settle you down, and you just like, that's what I love about it, is how it just brings you back to reality, and you're in the moment because you're not thinking about anything else. Because as soon as you move, you feel the coldness of the water.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, that's cold, and it just even just 5 minutes out of your day. You know, like you were saying, it's over in 5 minutes. It's like, yeah, it's only 5 minutes. What's 5 minutes the whole day? But yet, it's 5 minutes that you just have time to sort of be at one with yourself and your thoughts, which is exactly what sort of meditation is. It was just like a forced meditation.
At your most uncomfortable as well, you know, at that point in the day, you know, it's weird that you say that because it's so true. You know, at your most uncomfortable point, you could probably say that you're probably the most peaceful point, you know, if you do a cold plunge. So if everybody's listening to this and they're like, what? Well, you have to want to do it first. You have to know the science and be like, okay, this is what I really want to do. And then you're like, right, I'm gonna. It's you've thought about it that much that you're like, right, okay. It's like I want to do some mountain biking. Well, I thought about it that much. I'm gonna actually invest in a bike. Right, okay. Well, I want to do cold therapy. Right, instead of doing a cold showers, I'm gonna get something that I can go and get into, and it's instantly cold, and my whole body's cold. You know, like, so like you have to invest into it, and once you've invested in that thing, then it becomes a journey as to how to get yourself settled down and to a point where you are peaceful. I know myself, if I'll take 2 days off, like, because I wasn't at the start, I was doing it twice a day. And then after a certain period of time, I'd take, like, just recently, there's been over the past week or so, I haven't done it every day. And then there's been like days when it's like, right, I've got to do it. And today was like, right, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. I'm going to go and do it. I think it was like 51 degrees Fahrenheit. And I was like, right, this is good, man. It's cold enough to go and do it. I'm going to go and do it. And it's a challenge again. And you get in there and you're like, oh my God. But as soon as you get in, what you spoke of is so true. You find your center point. You're just like, oh, fuck. And you're just like, almost like completely at peace again. And again, like you said, you there's nothing else to do. You don't really want to move. You know, I mean, there is a time to make it a bit more challenging is when you do move around. You know, if you're in there and anybody does a cold plunge and you sat chilling out and you're like, this is starting to feel a bit too easy, just move your body around, man. Put your arms under further, dig your shoulders in further, try and get it up to your neck a little bit or whatever, you know. Try, you know, obviously get your face in, you know, try and get your face in.
It's weird how your perspective of temperature changes afterwards as well, because like what you were saying is like I'd get in, we'd be like, wow, that's cold straight away. And then after a few minutes, you're like, it's not that bad. I feel okay. And then you move and you're like, oh no, it's still freezing. You know, like it's like your perception of it's changed. And then you get out and you're obviously getting out into open air outside at night or whatever, which would usually be cold if you were wet through. And you're like, no, it's warmer when I'm out.
Yeah.
So your perception of what is cold's changed. And then, like, I used to go and set the shower off, and obviously I'd usually just wait for the shower to warm up before I get under it. But because I was so cold, I was like, I'll just get under it while it's cold, and it'll just start coming warm. And it's like, you know, like it's your perception of heat changes. It's so strange.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I noticed with it as well. I definitely need to order a proper one rather than a swimming pool.
Yeah. I remember when, yeah, that's so funny. Anyway, if you're listening, I'll try and find a way to, we need to figure out a way for the podcast where if we're doing ones like this, we can just like show people stuff, like attach notes to it and stuff.
Well, you can on Zoom. You can screen share photos and PowerPoints and stuff. So like
right,
now,
so
obviously
yeah. If I do,
you'd have to watch it.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, I might have put it in on this. So yeah, you bought like I remember because I got a little pool.
Yeah.
And little plunge pool, honestly, tiny. Honestly, like I got it off eBay, and it was only like £55. Now, since obviously, like I said to you, the company that I bought it off, they put it up to like £95. I think because people might have been like, oh, okay, I'm gonna start doing that or something. So I got that, and I was like, that's perfect, wicked, cool. I've got it, wicked. It's amazing. It doesn't take long to fill up. I've got a hose, just poof, lock it in, cold water straight in. Takes about 15 minutes, if that, you know. And then you were like, dude, I'm inspired, you know. You see me putting my little journey up on my Instagram story, and you're like, I'm gonna do it. So you're like, right, I'm gonna go. And then you bought an actual pool that, honestly, guys, it's so big. It was such a big pool. And Joe was messaging me like, I've got it, I'm filling it up now. And then about an hour or two later, he's like, it's nowhere near full yet. It's like, it's been filling it up for ages. It won't, it's still filling up. So yeah. And then gradually it died on you, didn't it?
Well, I thought, I don't know what I thought, man. I was even saying as I was filling it up, I was like, I've made a mistake here. This is literally 2 hours with the hose pipe, 2 hours. I was like, oh, I'll just get a filter. It has a filter attachment. I'll filter it out. It'll be fine. I got like a cover for it. Anyway, you started using it for about a month, and then the hot weather came and used it as actually used it as a pool. But then, like, I was like, right, I'll need to clean it out a bit. I'll get a sieve. So I was like sieving around the top of this pool, and I looked in the sieve, and I was like, oh, there's something alive in the water. They were like, it looked like it were tadpoles, but it obviously wasn't tadpoles. I was like, oh god, there's maggots in here or something. Oh my god.
Okay, done.
Yeah, so I need to buy one now. I need to get back on it and get my cold plunging back in order.
I've got a tiny story with that as well, because I think I left mine 2 days, right, once. And mine's not got a cover on it. So like one day I was like, I didn't even go to look at it. At first I was just like, stood at my back door. I'm like, come on, let's do this. I've just got my shorts on. I'm just like, trying to get myself sorted. I'm like, come on. Go. So just fucking boom, get out there. Just get out there. Walked over and I'm like, oh, there's some bits in here. Oh, so I stood in it and just sat right down. Boom, got right into it, got right up to here. Looked over and there was a dead spider in there. Right, okay, because like in my head, I'm like, and it wasn't small. I'd say it was like, it was a good size, not massive, but like not
Did you
money,
scream?
not money
Please
spider.
tell
Well,
me.
I was okay. I was okay. I was like, nah, it's all right. It's all right. I'm all right. Don't worry about it. I'm all right with spiders now. I used to hate them. I'm not all right with spiders. I just have a little bit more control of my fear of spiders because it just slowly started flowing towards me. And I was like, oh, and then it just hit me, and I just had to stand up and try and scoop it out. Honestly, I wish somebody would have been able to see me because that moment of just like, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm not all right, I'm not all right, I'm not all right. Get the spider out. It was dead as well. You know what I mean? What other creature on this planet is so small that it strikes so much fear, weird fear into someone that just doesn't need to? It's not poisonous. It's dead. It's just floating around in the water. You know what I mean? I'm just like, ugh.
Just slipping your boxing gloves on, like in the pool, just like, right, I'm gonna have it.
Yeah.
Mouth, gum shield in, right.
I'm gonna do it.
I mean, okay.
He's lost
See?
his mind.
Yeah. Oh man, I like just how stuff can scare you like that though. It's just like like when you fear when it turns on and it's like oh god no,
Yeah.
no. Like you're not yourself, are you? You revert back to being like a little kid, and it's just like ah. I love that, especially
Yeah.
like seeing kids go through that because my little girl, she was playing with the alarm clock, and for some reason she pressed it and the static came on, like that. Honestly, man, you should have seen how scared she was. She was just like, like ran straight to me. I'm like, what? What is
You're all
going on?
right. Yeah.
It's just fear, isn't it? It's just fear. Like it does something to you, which reverts you back into not thinking with
Yeah,
clarity.
man. It's funny. We were just watching Pete's Dragon. Me and the kids. We were just watching Pete's Dragon. It's a film. Came out it's 2016, and it's PG. And we're watching it, and everything was all right. Everything was all right. But well, I'm saying everything was all right. It was towards the start. We were watching it. Everything seemed all right, and then this kid runs into this forest, and there's like he's being chased by these wolves. It goes all dark and it gets deeper into the forest. He's only like 4 or 5 years old as this little kid. And he stands in the middle of this dark forest. You could just hear this, oh, like, and things creeping up around him and stuff like that. And I just turn around and look at Felix and he's like that. He's like that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, you all right? He's like, looks up at me. He's like, I'm like, are you sure you're all right? He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. But it's like, I remember as a kid how scared you would get at things that when you're an adult, you're like, that's not even scary. But as a kid, it's like, oh my God, this, and you've got to be careful with stuff like that with kids. But yeah, fear is crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, you forget, don't you? Because you've got like to a kid, what's it called? I can't remember the word, the phrase for it, but
Irrational fear, or no, I don't know.
No. It's your sort of being able to separate what is real from what is not real. And I think, like, when you talk to sort of elderly people, they struggle with films a lot more. Suspension of disbelief. That's the
Right.
phrase.
Okay.
And you struggle with it because your brain finds more flaws, because they know what you will be willing to believe, and then what you're not willing to believe, and it's to do with how you process information. So the real obvious one is Ghost. You remember Patrick Swayze's Ghost? And he spent ages in that film trying to flick and move an object as he was a ghost, yet he could just sit down on a chair. And he was like, would you not just fall through the chair if you like your suspension of disbelief? And I was saying it to Harvey at training. I was like, do you have watched Matthew McConaughey in not Inception, what's the one where he goes to space?
Interstellar.
And I was like, what was the end about? He flew into an event. He flew into a black hole over the event horizon, and then became some sort of ghost behind a bookshelf. Like, what the fuck? Like, my suspension of disbelief is, like, is gone. Like, I can't stick with that at all. He'd have just been ripped apart and surely, like, wouldn't have survived. And Harry was like, well, nobody knows what's through a black hole, so it could be anything. So therefore, why wouldn't it be that? And I was like, seriously? Seriously, you're gonna go with that? Like, you're okay with that? He's like, yeah, it's as plausible as anything. I'm like, no, he's not gonna go up behind his bookshelf, is he? Like, he's not gonna go behind his bookshelf. Like, I don't know if you've seen it. We're
Wouldn't you?
talking about.
Wouldn't you just get ripped apart?
Yeah, man, I reckon so. I don't think you can go through a black hole. I don't think it's possible. But talking about spaceships and oh my god, how scary would it be? We've just watched what was it? The Dragon, SpaceX's. Is it Dragon? Was it Dragon?
Yeah, Dragon Capsule. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Because I was talking to you that night, weren't I? I was like,
yeah.
oh my god,
I
imagine being
know.
sat there talking about fear.
I know, because we were talking about that, weren't we? I think it was you made me laugh because it was that night, and I just come back down off Pendle, and I listened to your message, and it made me laugh just thinking to yourself, what the like. I can't imagine the fear. Well, obviously they would have a certain amount of it, but the idea of them just like all suited up, because they had to do it a second time, didn't they? They were going to do it the first time and it got called off. They were all sat in ready to go, and they were like, no, we're not doing it. Oh, what? So they had to wait another 4 days or something, then got suited and booted, had to go and do it again, have the last conversation before they taken off with their kids and so on, a family. And then they sit there at the tip of a rocket, that is literally going straight up into space. It's not going to the local shop or anything like that. It's going straight up into space. And I just, to have that much control, we talk about fear, to have that control over it. But I think looking at that and thinking about it, there's only been a few incidents where rockets have blown up, isn't there? With humans in. They go through a certain period of trial. They go through so many trials with rockets that they before humans get involved, that it's almost impossible for it to fail. You know what I mean? And when it does fail, like when it did actually fail that time, it was like, but I think when it did actually fail that time, I can't remember what spaceship it was with. It was like nearly 20 years ago.
Apollo 9. Yeah.
Apollo 9, yeah. It was a tiny bit of something that broke off. And it was like, oh, man.
It was the seal. It was the seal. Have you ever listened to Richard Feynman about the? He did the set. What's it called? A private committee to figure out what had gone on. And he was asked to be part of it. And initially he was just like, no, I don't want any part of that. And then his partner at the time was like, you need to go and find out what's happened, because otherwise they might not know. They might not find out. And it's a brilliant story, man. I'll have to send it you. But basically it's human error, but they were trying to cover it up, and they were trying to make the inquiry so difficult for them that they wouldn't find, that they wouldn't find it was the seal, and it was the temperature of the seal at a certain temperature obviously wouldn't seal. And they'd been like, they'd noted it, and the complaint had been elevated, but then forgotten about and elevated, and then it was a proper good story, man. I'll send it you. But yeah, it was human error. It was human error, and it was about human factors, about how mismanagement can cause something like that and cost them astronauts their lives. But yeah, just being sat at the tip of a rocket, man, and just being like, it's like, oh man, are you feeling all right? Like to your mate, because you sat next to somebody, aren't you? You sat next to your other astronaut. I don't know the names of them, but you're just like...
Yeah, they've been mates for years as well.
Yeah, just looking across and just being like, well, he doesn't look scared. Like...
Yeah.
Like, oh, it gets, what's the worst thing that could happen at the 10-second countdown? You just like, you look down and you realize you're not buckled in. Or you're just like, oh, fuck. Like, or you look behind you because they're sat like that. They look behind you, and you just see you see something there, and you're just like,
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
there's a fucking
There's
there's a
something in
fucking
here.
cat. There's a
Yeah,
cat in here.
yeah, yeah,
How's that cat got?
yeah. 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2,
Yeah,
2,
yeah.
1, 1, 1.
Yeah. 10. You look
Yeah,
behind you. It's
yeah,
just a
because
giraffe.
yeah, because yeah, because yeah, because I
What
remember it's literally down to the second because apparently Trump turned around on the first one and was like, they were like, oh, it's not going to happen, and he's like, what? And they were like, yeah, apparently it's like not going to happen. And he's like, Trump turned around apparently and said like, oh, well, why don't, because he actually said this at the press conference when they launched it the second time. He's like, he turned around and said, well, why can't we just launch in about a minute or so? They were like, no. You don't really realize we've timed it down to the like for 0.2 of a second that they've got to take off. So that's precise down to the 10, 9, 8. That's all set perfectly in time. Everything's got to run to that schedule for it to take off at that very moment in time. They can't be like, oh, just wait there. Right, just push it back a minute. It's all right, we'll set off in a minute. No, they've got is and that's what's crazy about
sets off
rocket
straight into an aeroplane.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
shit, wait a minute. Like.
Yeah, but then another thing as well off that, anybody that's listening, if you've got this far, what blew my mind was going on a YouTube rabbit hole and somebody, and I'll send it you, somebody, when they were in a plane, I think it was in 2016 or something like that, or 13, a rocket was taking off and they were in a plane, like a commercial plane, and the commercial plane slowed down so it could watch it, and they so that people could watch it, and just watching a rocket take off from the sky from a plane and just watch it go up rather than watch it from the ground is absolutely mind-blowing, honestly, because you're just like, you realize just how small the rocket is. It's massive. It's so big as the rocket. You look at it like, Jesus Christ, it's so big. And when it takes off, you just don't understand how that's like being propelled into the sky so fast, at such a massive mad velocity. But then you look at it from a plane, you're like, it's like a little peanut just making its way off the planet, just going, oh, look, humans are doing another thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've made something that can just push itself off the earth and go up into space.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize just how small again and how insignificant we are, but how clever we are. We're so fucking clever to be able to design something like that. Because then I watched something yesterday, again, of the Falcon Heavy launch from about 2 years ago, or about a year or 2 years ago. When they sent the Falcon Heavy up, and it's set off. It's two rockets collapsed off, and they came free falling back down to earth, and then the fans came out, and the little afterburners came on and all that kind of stuff, and when they came down and landed back down on earth precisely, it's just unbelievable when you see that, because I'm not watching it from anything else other than this guy's recording. He's like on a boat on this lake watching them do it, and all of them are on this boat. And just watching that's just insane. You watch it from takeoff to them coming back down and landing. And just to know that we can do that now, and that I do think that Elon, obviously his main objective is to occupy Mars, and I think he will do it. I think, obviously he's going to die at some point, but I think his company and their ethos and their, because there's Blue Origin as well in there, and there's NASA. They will all come together. I think they realize now that there's a massive push to explore space, but we'll see what goes on. I mean, because
It's the private,
yeah,
private era of space flight.
yeah.
How weird is that we're living through that? Like, it's been, obviously NASA was put a public, an American public, but we're now seeing the private era of spaceflight. It's like we're seeing a new emergence, and not only like an emergence as in they've now within our technology they can re-land the rockets, which means we're more
you can reuse them.
Yeah,
it's more cost effective.
Yeah, it's an emergent science. It's like, you know what I mean by that? It's like something that wasn't here before is now here. And we're seeing like an industry that wasn't here before. There was no no people who had enough money to create their own, Space Force, which is a new Netflix thing in it, but the Space Force is like we've now entered a realm where people can privately own. Obviously, not it's not just individuals, is it? But privately own a company that is a space company. What? It's mad, isn't it? And
Yeah.
the other one that's coming, man, the other one that's emerging, and sort of people are getting trickles of it, is wireless charging. Wireless charging, man. Think how that changes the world, right? You've got the phones now which can just share battery power, aren't you? So like, oh, my phone's low, I'll just put it against yours. From right, you've took 20% of my battery. That's
Insane.
wireless charging. So all you have to do is escalate that out into everything that you can think of. You no longer need plugs. You no longer need plugs. Like imagine like a world without plugs, without having to
What?
put your laptop in or whatever. Your car, your electric car now doesn't need to. You don't need to. You can charge it wirelessly. Like that is emerging, and we're going to see that emergence in our lifetime, probably more than likely, because it's already starting to tinkle into like mainstream things. It's like
Yeah.
you're going to be able to send power, literally send energy through nothingness. That like wow. What are we actually going to experience in our lifetime now? We're
Yeah.
already seeing like something that is the classic is it's unprecedented, like all the things with the coronavirus, unprecedented. You
Yeah.
know, like we've within 70 years we've never seen something like this. But look at all the technologies that we've never seen either. Look at how we've had the internet. We've had, we're now seeing the private era of space travel. We're going to see like emergent things within health, as in like nanotechnologies. Like they are looking and getting on with nanotechnology, which is like isolating certain cancers and being able to like put things into your body which will just go straight. Like nanotechnology, micro technology. We're seeing the emergence of supercomputers, which are, we might see AI. There's a possibility we might see AI, but we're
Yeah.
definitely see quantum computers. And anybody that just wants to be absolutely wowed, just go and look at the D-Wave computer and what that's actually doing, and what they don't really know how it's working. It doesn't work it doesn't work in binary anymore, and they have to hold it in a chamber which is like so much below freezing that quantum physics work differently and time works differently, and this computer's working within that. D-Wave computers, it's literally the future, like is
Insane.
happening all the time, but it's just how aware are you of it? Like because technology comes along. Remember the iPhone, the initial iPod is like, oh, we can now hold how many songs on this tiny little thing. Like that was an emergence of technology, and it's like we're seeing it incrementally, seeing it emerge, and then it becomes the norm.
Yeah, but
But
so fast as well, though, because you remember, well, long ago we had mini discs. You had
yeah,
tapes. I remember tapes, and then I remember CDs, and all these like the CDs, and then the mini discs. They all just were like they were all just flashes. I know that you can still buy CDs and stuff, but now it's not going to be in 10 years' time. There's not going to be CDs really now. But it is crazy how fast it's all actually going. It's going so quick, like Elon were talking about the Neuralink as well, being able
oh
to,
yeah,
take
yeah,
a fragment of your skull out, and then go in and then permanently implant this link
yeah,
into your brain that can just alleviate any, like bad eyesight or anything like that, or all that kind of stuff, numerous of things, you know what I mean? It, it it's weird, and but it's also absolutely amazing that we're living through that, and it just makes you think, doesn't it, what Storm and Felix and Isla are going to have in their life, when they're 35, 40, like what's going to be
yeah.
going on, you know what I mean? I hope we're still fully alive. We'll be old and peeing on ourselves by that point, but it will be interesting to see what fully is happening, you know what I mean? Because like you say, even for us, I'm 35, to think that when internet first was around, and it would be dial-up, and it would be a dodgy connection. And even then, I used to sit at the computer and be like, as a kid, and I wouldn't know really what to go on the internet for. I remember thinking as a kid, I've got the internet, but what websites can I go on? You know what I mean? What can I actually go on that's interesting? You know what I mean? Now everything is the internet, like
Yeah, yeah,
everything, all day. We're all like, we're all like trying to deal with the addiction of being stuck on our phones, which are
yeah,
which if they weren't connected to the internet, would be pointless. You know, it's just a
yeah,
fucking camera. That's all it is. You know what I mean? If you don't have the internet, but this thing's wireless now, and you can get this thing from nothing. You know what I mean? There's a little point in your house that's like a hub. There's a hub
yeah,
that pulls in your own signal, and you've got loads of different devices that's connected to it without a fucking wire, and
yeah, yeah.
it's just
Well, that's
mind
it.
blowing.
If somebody said you're not going to have to plug your internet cable in, you'd be
Yeah.
like, what? What, fuck off. You know, like, but now now I was saying, like, you're not even going to have to charge your devices because they'll charge wirelessly. It's like, eh? Eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't, and then you go one step further and you're like, you're not even going to have devices because it'll be implanted in your head. like, eh? Eh?
Yeah.
Like,
Did
what the fuck?
you,
What the fuck?
we're rambling
No.
now about, but did you watch it
Oh,
where Elon was talking about, you know, the idea of you're not even going to need to, you know, me and you could have had this whole conversation just by me thinking it at
yeah,
you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, and it saves any kind of me like uh, you know,
we're
stumbling
not
over
gonna.
my words. It saves any stumbling. I can just be like, do you know what I mean? And you're like, yeah, I know what you
Yeah,
mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
I don't.
whoa.
I honestly, man. I honestly, out of all the technologies that are probably going to come, I just can't see myself ever doing that. Like, I think I am probably going to die without having a neural link. And I mean, I might look back on this and think, how silly were I? But I can't picture somebody drilling through my skull and implanting something which is a piece of technology and becoming technically at that point becoming a cyborg, because that's what you are. You're becoming existing with a piece of technology which is cybertronics. I mean, if it was like I've lost an arm and you can give me a fully working arm if I have it, then yeah, let's do it. But just if I was perfectly healthy, as in like I'm just growing old naturally, would I have it? I don't know, man. That's a fucking big one, isn't it? I just don't. I can't see myself having it. Can
No,
you?
no, 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 no. You know me, man. I very much like to just grow old and just whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. If somebody come forward in 20 years' time and it was like it hit this fast track, and it got to a point where you know you started, yeah, I don't know if it could cure Alzheimer's or something like that. You know what I mean? You were like, you slowly started getting it, and and they were like, well, we can do this for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or if you just go
yeah, yeah,
private, you can get this. It costs you like
yeah,
$4,000.
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
What are, and it's, oh no, it's 100%, 100%. You'll get this in, you just insert this. It's very evasive, but very invasive, but it won't, you'll be all right. Don't worry about it. Everything's okay. There's a 100% recovery rate and you'll be fine. What? I'll be back to normal. Yeah. Just like getting a knee replacement or a hip replacement. You know what I mean? It
yeah,
might
yeah.
be so
Exactly.
painful and then you get a hip replacement. It's like, fucking, hey, I've got a new hip. I
Yeah, yeah,
can move. You know, you'll be like, oh my God, I've got a new brain. You know what I mean? Everything's cool. Or not new brain, but my brain works again. I remember. I can remember stuff. I can retain information and all that kind of stuff. Ooh, it's a tough gig, is that? Would you or wouldn't you? I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know.
You've sold it to me. I'm there. I'm doing it. But I like it too. Like, you know, when you have a conversation with somebody who's of a certain generation, and you're like, "Have you got the internet? Do you go on the internet?" Like, no, no, no. I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to use these things.
Yeah.
You know, like the mobile phone, it'd be like that. Be like me. It's like, "Have you got Neuralink?" No, I don't know how to use it. I don't know. Like, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
every time I activate it, I end up on YouTube in my head.
That's so funny, man. Oh man, dude, we've been talking for a while now. I proper enjoyed talking to you, man. We definitely should do these more, man. I
Yeah, we
know we're
don't. We have
busy.
guests on all the time, don't we? I haven't actually. I was thinking that, man. Other than just having little conversations with you here and there, I've not actually sat down and chewed the fat with you since before lockdown.
No.
Like properly just had, like, when you're like a couple of hours into a conversation and you just start talking shit.
Yes.
You just start rambling about absolute crazy hypotheticals. It's like I haven't done that for ages with you, man, and it's
No.
something that we need to do. I mean, we're only an hour in now, and it could go to the point where people will be like, "What the fuck are these two talking about?"
Yeah.
Like, we don't want it to go there, like, obviously publicly, but that's where it usually gets to with me and you. We're usually like, "No, it'd be this way. This would
Yeah.
happen." Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well, we moan at each other on a daily basis. You know what I mean? I think that's this is quite an articulate conversation we're having, but we moan at each other on a daily basis about what's going on, or how I feel about this, or oh god, I just feel shit today, or like, oh, what's going on with this? Why can't we? So it felt good to actually sit down and just push all the other stuff to one side and start talking about things that are cool and interesting. Because, like you say, man, I do feel like we're coming towards the end of something, but I think we've hopefully hit a new road with the podcast. Like I think we found a way to reach other people and pull them in as well, and hopefully we can have more conversations with interesting people. I'm super excited for maybe definitely what's to come with the podcast, but just who you're going to have on. I always think this, wouldn't it be good to look at the list, at the end of this year, be like, this is the list of people that you had on, like looking
yeah,
into the future. And you're like,
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
hell, no way. Because already
yeah,
there's a few people on there, but like, no way we got them on, no way. So
yeah, of course,
yeah,
man.
it's proper exciting. It's proper exciting, but
And
yeah, man.
it's strange how, like, there's not been that much really to look forward to, and not that much going for 2020. To be fair, the year has been a bit of a fuck on it for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not
So far.
been good so far. But I think, like, through what they say, like, that added bit of pressure and added bit of, like, fucking reality has driven us to, like, expand in ways that we wouldn't have normally thought we could expand. And to be honest, like, we wouldn't be who we are without this happening. And now I think people are going to be more appreciative, and we've got another platform which we can now do podcasts on, which I find is enhanced the podcast, because talk to people in America, and we would have never thought of
Yeah.
doing that before. And now I'm like, I wonder who we could actually get. And it's set my cogs spinning to be like,
Yeah, well, I hopefully, fingers crossed, spoke to someone today. I've got another interview podcast to do with someone from New Zealand. So like, with us like here, there, and everywhere. You know what I mean? Because we branched off and doing his own little ones. Like I've got a tattoo series of the Week in Hand podcasts, and um, it's weird to pull people in from different places in it. California, New Zealand. Try and get people from all different places, and that's the powerful part of this. And I also think as well of Zoom, should I say? But I also think as well, it has definitely made me more like I've got more time to sit down and be a bit more professional about it as well, which I've pushed you. And I'm like, I'm gonna edit these so they sound a bit better than, because if you listen back, anybody that's listened to this listens back to the first few ones, they are just literally just like we finished it. I literally uploaded it at Joe's, and I was like, "Just give me a sec. I'll go in a minute. It's uploading." Remember?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So like, and
seems like
now I'm
ages ago.
and now I'm like, "Nah, man. These aren't. That's not gonna. This probably won't come out for 2 days or a day. I'm gonna put this on it and put that on it, and that's all learning stuff. I was trying to learn some more stuff today about posting things on Instagram with the videos with subtitles and stuff, so people see it. Because apparently, 75% of people won't actually click into something unless they can read it first. Like they read what the person's saying. You know what I mean? Because you can't
Yeah,
hear everything straight away.
I've
So
seen them. Yeah,
yeah, so like I'm like, right, how do I do that? So I'm trying to figure that out. And like anybody now, they just need to they'll find it on YouTube. But yeah, having this platform, if you've listened this far, you're obviously do listen to us, and we fully appreciate it, and we can't wait to bring more interesting people on. yeah, I'm stoked about it.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good. It's going to be good, and we hopefully can keep it going and keep it on, you know, an upward trajectory. It's man, I enjoy just doing this sort of thing anyway because it's productive, isn't it? Rather than
Yeah,
sat there just watching, you know, like watching something. It's like actually having a conversation and testing your vocabulary and testing your thoughts and like bouncing it off each other. I think that's how you grow. I
yeah,
honestly do. I think like if you're not having in-depth conversations on a regular basis, then start having them, because you literally find out who you are and what you think and how well you can project an image or project a thought through you know, through yourself. And it is definitely made me a clearer thinker and talker. Like it definitely has. And the more I do of it, the more precise and articulate I can become. And then you can give people ideas. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm
yeah,
just giving you an idea. There you go. Like do what you will. But you know, like, and that's you know, it's so self beneficial as well as beneficial for all our listeners
for
who
sure.
who get a little bit of something from it. That's all you need, isn't it? So yeah,
Yeah.
I think we wrap it up there, man. That's good. Good
Yeah,
timing.
man. Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. Well, take it easy, guys.